I didn't want to say the name or invoke anything out there. I didn't want any darkness. I felt like
I'm playing a character who believes he's real. So there's an extra kind of leap of faith that has to happen. You know, I don't believe I'm real, but if I play a character who's struggling, which most of them are, I have to believe entirely in his plight.
Jim Carrey recently accepted an award, a very big, prestigious award in France. And while giving an interview, people were quick to notice that his appearance looked very different. Specifically, his face just seemed very off compared to how it had always looked.
When I'm not caught up in the little movie in my head, projecting fear and doubt on the future, I love to get to a place where I feel like I'm all it is, was, and ever will be, and that's what we all are, I believe. You know, we're sharing one soul, and this finite mind is how God entertains himself.
You know, there's something so pure about playing a villain like that. You know, I mean, it's, you know, the villains have such great passion. You know, it's like and it's uncomplicated. You know, it's like, I want, I need, I must have, you know.
Keanu Reeves just spilled what really happened to Jim Carrey. And if you've been paying attention, things have been looking weird ever since his appearance in the César Awards show, where people were literally saying he was not looking like the real Jim Carrey. To understand why Keanu is speaking out, we need to go back to where it all began.
I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join, and here I am.
They're
I
celebrating.
mean, you got to admit, it's completely meaningless.
When Jim Carrey and Keanu Reeves were working together on Sonic the Hedgehog 3, they spent a lot of time in the recording booth, and what Keanu learned from Jim during those sessions changed how he saw this industry forever. Jim Carrey told him about the pressure the industry giants have been putting on him for years, not just to come back and make movies, but to become someone he's not anymore. The first time Keanu really noticed something was off was when Jim showed up to one of the movie's recording sessions. Reeves has been in this business for a long time. He had worked with a lot of people and seen actors fade away, but what he saw in Jim's eyes that day wasn't burnout, it was fear of something much worse. Carrey pulled him aside after they finished recording a scene and said, "Keanu, you don't understand what they're trying to do to me." Reeves asked him who they were, and he just shook his head. Now Reeves had heard a lot of crazy things in Hollywood. People talk about conspiracies all the time, but this was different.
And I'd tell him, okay, this is what I plan to do tomorrow, possibly, and he'd do that. And then when I was Gerald, I would say, this is what I remember that I did yesterday. It was wild.
Over the next few weeks, Jim started opening up more. He told Keanu about this hidden information he had been gathering, and if even half of this is true, then there are definitely some very powerful people in this industry who have a lot to lose, and they've been putting enormous pressure on Jim Carrey to stay silent. But if they wanted him to stay hidden, things didn't exactly go according to plan. Recently, Jim Carrey showed up at the César Awards in Paris to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. This should have been a big moment. However, the internet went crazy with people saying he looked different. Folks compared footage from late 2025, when he inducted Soundgarden into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, to the César Awards appearance.
Bonjour. 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 Oh, it's a wonderful feeling. I really took on a pretty big challenge trying to do my speech in French. So, you know, I wrote it and I researched it and I practiced it like crazy. But, you know, it's... then I watched everybody like talking 1,000 miles an hour up there receiving their awards, and I was like, I'm dead.
In 2025, he was the animated person we all love, but in recent photos and videos circulating online, you can clearly tell something is off. His nose looked different, his jawline looked different, his ears looked different, and what caught everyone's attention was Carrey, who is a left-handed person, appeared to use his right hand before the César Awards.
Is this Jim Carrey? This was Jim Carrey not too long ago. This is Jim Carrey now. The internet believes he is left-handed, signing with his right hand here. Here's a video from 2014. He's signing with his right hand. So Jim Carrey's right-handed, but check out his eyes.
An hour up there receiving their awards, and I was like, I'm dead. And I made mistakes, and I was like a novice, but...
My big thing is the eyes. The eyes are hazel. I don't know how you change your eye color. They used to be brown, but now they look like this. This is my question. Is this The real Jim Carrey.
When a reporter finally asked him, "Are you the real Jim Carrey?" he just tried to divert his attention.
Actually, three Jim Carrey is real original Jim Carrey. Can you answer this, please, Mr. Jim Carrey? Every fake news is saying you are not Jim Carrey. That's true or not? Please, give answer. After Epstein files, you actually say something. That's true or not? Are you true? You same man?
Randy Quaid, who's been in this industry for decades, has his own theories about these ongoing things. He claims that Carrey was targeted for elimination due to his knowledge of the dark practices involving the passing of David Carradine and Heath Ledger. Randy Quaid says a lot of things, and not all of them are exactly facts. But when someone with his experience makes a statement like that, people listen. A person commented saying, the real Jim Carrey would come up with something quirky if asked if he was the real one for sure. Another one added, they most likely took him out. When you start looking at all the evidence that people are pointing to, it gets kind of hard to just dismiss everything as fans being crazy. First off, let's talk about this 4-month discrepancy. In late 2025, Jim Carrey was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction to introduce Soundgarden, and by all accounts, he was having fun. Then fast forward to February 2026. Just about 4 months later, he is at the César Awards in Paris receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award, and people are saying he looks completely different.
I'm starting to think that Jim Carrey is no longer with us. And actually, it seems like everyone's starting to come to that conclusion, particularly on X, where they're talking about this and showing old clips of Jim Carrey making the hint obvious, talking about things that we're not talking about.
Conspiracy theorists have been analyzing every frame of that Caesar Awards footage, and they're pointing to specific things. They say his shape is slightly off from what it used to be, and they're pointing out these tiny differences that the average person might not notice. When you put all of this together, it starts to paint a picture of something strange happening with Jim Carrey, especially after looking back at how Jim Carrey grew up.
The day I turned 16, I dropped out of school.
Because?
Well, my family had, kind of hit the skids. We were, experiencing poverty at that point, and we got a job where the whole family had to work as security guards and janitor.
Carrey was raised in some serious poverty, living in a Volkswagen van and sleeping inside a tent. His dad lost his job as an accountant when he was 12, and they couldn't make enough money to keep the family stable. During this time, Jim Carrey performed 8-hour shifts as a janitor and security guard at a tire factory, which created a deep-seated awareness of the divide between the working class and the ruling elite. Young Jim Carrey wanted to do stand-up comedy. He had this big dream of making people laugh, so he went to this club called Yuck Yucks in Toronto to perform. But the crowd hated it so much that the club literally played Crucify Him over the speakers to boo him off the stage. Most people would have quit after experiencing something like that, but Jim Carrey kept going while facing years of rejection. He auditioned for Saturday Night Live 3 separate times between 1980 and 1986, and every single time they said no. Not only that, but he had this sitcom called The Duck Factory in 1983. It was his first real shot at television success, and what happened? It failed badly, and not only did it fail, but it aired out of order, which basically meant nobody even saw it properly. Then there's the story about The Tonight Show. They invited Jim to perform, and then they revoked the invitation after he did a lackluster set at some club.
I wanted to focus in on what I believe because I want to give the world the real thing.
All of that struggle made Jim Carrey appreciate success when it finally arrived in 1994. In one calendar year, this guy released 3 blockbuster movies: Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber. Every single one of them was a massive hit, and it made him a household name. He went from being the guy who couldn't get hired to the biggest movie star on the planet.
Rubber-faced clown, star of movies like Dumb and Dumber, The Grinch, and most recently, Lemony Snicket. But wait till you see this. The real Jim Carrey, the man behind the mask. True, he can be infantile, gleefully uninhibited, all the things that make him a rarity, a bankable Hollywood star commanding $25 million a picture.
After years of struggle, people thought this would be the happiest time of his life. However, Jim Carrey started to realize that this success hadn't actually filled the void he was trying to fill. He talked about this concept that he calls the lie, and basically what it means is that all his life he thought that if he became successful, famous, then he would finally feel worth something. But when he actually got there and had everything he thought he wanted, he realized it was all empty.
Last night, I was up till 3 a.m. I got very little sleep because I wasn't just going to flail helplessly in front of the camera. I wasn't just going to go, I'm a wacky guy, crazy, I wanted to focus in on what I believe because I want to give the world the real thing.
The fame didn't love him back. The money was just paper, and the attention was just noise. And this is where his real philosophy really started to shift. He began to see Jim Carrey as a character and started thinking that maybe his purpose wasn't to become a star, but to use his star power to free people from their concerns, make them laugh, and forget about their problems for a couple of hours. Then came the movie, Man on the Moon, and this is when things got really intense. Jim Carrey went all in on this role. He became Andy Kaufman in a way that he started to blur the lines between himself and the character.
Someday when I get the speakers fixed, I'm going to have a party for all of the unwanted toys that just sit up on the shelf all day with no one to play with them.
After Man on the Moon, Carrey was never really the same. He had achieved every dream he ever had, and instead of feeling fulfilled, he felt more lost than ever. The crown he had been chasing turned out to be hollow, and that emptiness led Jim down a very strange path, one that would eventually put him at odds with the entire industry.
Where I found myself subjugating Jim Carrey for Andy Kaufman and Tony Clifton, and then at the end of it, looking for Jim Carrey again and having trouble finding him. And at a certain point, I realized, hey, wait a second, if it's so easy to lose Jim Carrey, who the hell is Jim Carrey?
In 2014, Jim Carrey went on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and what happened there became legendary. He basically did this whole satirical bit where he exposed Hollywood's secret societies. He demonstrated an all-mocking tongue gesture and claimed that talk show hosts are basically government-hired mouthpieces.
I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. It is the secret symbol of the Illuminati, and you're a part of it, and it is the all-mocking tongue.
In 2017, things got more messy when Jim Carrey was at Fashion Week in New York and told this reporter that he is not real. He dismissed the whole concept of icons, calling them the lowest form of ambition, and then he dropped the line that surprised everyone.
I don't believe in icons. I don't believe in personalities. I believe that peace lies beyond personality, beyond invention and disguise, beyond the red S that you wear on your chest that makes bullets bounce off. I believe that it's deeper than that. I believe we're a field of energy dancing for itself. And I don't care.
But Jim, you got really dressed up for the occasion. You look good.
No, I didn't
that an
get dressed
accident?
up. I didn't get dressed up.
Who did?
There is no me.
There's no you.
No.
We're not here. This is a dream?
There's just things happening. And there are clusters of tetrahedrons moving around together.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's happening in our world right now? Because there is a lot of news that actually is relevant that's not that
Here's
uplifting.
the thing. It's not our world.
None
That's
of
the
this is
key.
real?
Nope.
So you're just passing
We don't
through.
matter. We don't matter.
Oh, wow.
There's the good news. Yes.
So what's happening in our world right now? Because there is a lot of news that actually is relevant that's not that
Here's
uplifting.
the thing. It's not our world.
None
That's
of this
the
is
key.
real?
Nope.
So
Nope.
you're just passing
We don't
through.
matter. We don't matter.
Oh, wow.
There's the good news.
Okay.
During this Oscar slap incident, where Will Smith walked up on stage and slapped Chris Rock, the whole world lost its mind. Everyone in Hollywood was trying to figure out what to say, how to react. Most people were very diplomatic, and that's when Jim Carrey came out and called Hollywood spineless.
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
This statement really summed up where Jim's mindset was at this point. He was done playing the game. He was done pretending. But through all of this, Carrey kept talking about The Truman Show. He really wanted a sequel. And when people asked him why, he said it was because he wanted to escape what he called artificial reality.
What I think would have happened to Truman when he goes outside the wall. Mm-hmm. And it took me a while to realize that basically he was alone out there too, because everybody went back inside. Mm-hmm. They all wanted to be in the dome.
The man who literally played a character trapped in a fake world created by the media now wants to escape his own artificial reality. The movie had come out in 1998, but all these years later, it felt like his life had become the movie. He was Truman, trapped in this world that seemed real, but was actually controlled by forces fans couldn't see. When Jim Carrey announced in 2022 that he was walking away from acting altogether, it felt like the final chapter. He had been building up to this for years. He had made his peace with fame being empty, with Hollywood being corrupt, and the whole thing being artificial.
Well, I'm retiring, but
No.
Yeah, probably.
Are you being serious or are you screwing with me?
I'm being fairly serious. Yeah.
Really? Why?
It depends. It depends if the angels bring some sort of script that's written in gold ink that says to me that it's going to be really important for people to see, I might continue down the road, but I'm taking a break.
Despite this reclusive stance, in 2024, Jim Carrey came back to voice a character in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and was working with Keanu Reeves, who was voicing Shadow. Now, you'd think two action stars doing an animated movie together would just be a fun thing, right? But apparently, something else happened. These two bonded really deeply during production. Keanu Reeves, who's known for being one of the most low-key celebrities in Hollywood, was apparently talking about Jim Carrey all the time.
What was that moment like when you first met you and Jim Carrey?
I met him I'd met him socially in passing once, like 6-7 years ago. But then really just hanging out for the first time in London at the premiere of Sonic 3, yeah. His passion, his knowledge, allowing me to collaborate, and so I had great direction and a great role. And it was just intense. Shadow's intense.
But the conversations Keanu was allegedly having weren't about Jim Carrey's acting skills or his experience working together on Sonic the Hedgehog 3. They were about Jim's safety and the disturbing truth behind his sudden and bizarre reappearance in the public eye. According to rumors going around in the darker corners of the industry, Keanu Reeves has been discussing Jim Carrey's recent appearance at the César Awards in Paris. The word spreading through certain circles is that Reeves allegedly believes the person we saw stumbling through that prestigious event was not the real Jim Carrey at all. It was either a clone, an elaborate body double, or some kind of industry-controlled puppet designed to mimic the legendary funny man's presence. The theory, as Keanu is supposedly outlining it to trusted sources, paints a terrifying picture of what really happened to Jim Carrey. Well, the real Jim Carrey knew too much about the industry giants. He'd been getting very close to exposing the dark side of Hollywood, specifically making some very troubling connections regarding the recent Epstein files drop. Y'all probably remember when those files surfaced. They revealed an evil network of power and protection that had been there in the industry for decades. Now, Jim Carrey had information that went even further than what was already public. He had evidence that certain powerful figures had been involved in activities that would make headlines around the world, and he was about to do that in a recent Paris award show.
I don't want to be this character anymore. I don't want to hold up this avatar that you've created in the world. It's too much for me.
According to Keanu Reeves, if the real Jim Carrey was replaced or quietly forced into hiding, he would have been made to sign ironclad NDAs under pressure. These wouldn't be your standard celebrity non-disclosure agreements that get discussed in gossip columns. These would be the kind of documents that threaten legal lawsuits if ever breached. We've seen the industry use ruthless legal pressure on Jim before, and everyone remembers that devastating wrongful lawsuit that was filed against Carrey regarding his ex-wife, Catriona White. That case was eventually thrown out of court because it was based on forged documents and utter fabrication. But the damage was already done. It was filed with one specific purpose in mind: to ban Jim from the spotlight, to break his spirit, and to pressure him into staying completely silent. The theory suggests that industry giants are using these exact same intimidation tactics this time around, but on a much larger scale. They couldn't control the real Jim Carrey. He was unpredictable. He spoke his mind. He called out the system publicly and without apology. He told people that none of this was real, that fame was a lie, that the whole game was rigged. You can't monetize that kind of thinking. You can't control a person who refuses to play by the rules. So instead of trying to manage him any longer, they simply created a replacement, a docile version that looks like Jim, that sounds somewhat like Jim, but that can be controlled completely. This alleged clone doesn't question authority. This clone doesn't expose secrets. This clone just smiles for the cameras and collects paychecks, exactly what the industry elites demand. Well, maybe after a certain point, we might not ever see the real Jim Carrey appearing in public again, and that's the most disturbing part of all. The real Jim Carrey, the one who made us laugh until we cried, the one who questioned everything, the one who wanted to blow the whistle on all the corruption and manipulation, he's gone. In his place is this hollow shell that walks around and poses for photographs but has no idea who he really is or what he once stood for. What do you guys think about Jim Carrey's new clone? Do you believe something bad is happening with this industry veteran? Drop your thoughts in the comments and make sure to subscribe for more such videos.